Wife worked as an escape RT while in college. My wife 34 female and I 34 male have been married for almost 5 years. We have good jobs, a nice house, and we have 2 young kids. We have known each other since middle school, and we dated on and off through high school. We had been apart for several months when she went off to college in a different part of the country, while I went to a state school not far from home. We saw each other occasionally during those years when she was home for the summers and Christmas, and we hooked up a couple of times, but we kept it casual and didn't have much contact otherwise while she was away. I saw other people during that time. After college she moved back to this area, and we both lived in the same city, so we eventually started seeing each other again. It became serious, and we ended up getting engaged and got married a few years later. She is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, is my best friend and the love of my life. The weekend before last, we had our COVID bubble couple, my wife's best friend and her husband, over for dinner, and had a few drinks too many. The conversation moved to the subject of student debt and saving for college for our kids. The husband said he is still paying on his student loan since his parents didn't help pay for much. And my wife blurted out something like, "Yeah, mine didn't either." And she immediately went dark red. Now, I knew that she doesn't have any student loans, and I had assumed her parents had paid for most of it. She also had a job waiting tables, or so I thought, but there was no way she would have been able to pay for all of school doing that. I also noticed her friend looking very uncomfortable and they were exchanging looks, but I let it be, and the conversation moved on to other subjects and they eventually left. After they had left, I asked my wife what that was all about, and she immediately started crying, sobbing. She told me she was so sorry she hadn't told me before, but that while she went to college she worked as an escort to pay herself through school. She had wanted to tell me when we got back together, she said, but she was too ashamed, and thought I would have dumped her if she did. So she had just left it all behind, she said. I was completely caught off guard by this. I asked her how she even got into that, and she said she was introduced to an agency by another student she had befriended at the school, and it went from there. In the beginning it had only been once or twice a month, but since she needed the money she had done it some more, but seemed vague and avoiding about telling me how much. I pressed her on how much she had been doing it, and she eventually said she'd done it a couple of times a week the last 3 years of school. So that's hundreds of times, starting when she was still a teenager. I was so shocked. She cried and asked if I could forgive her. She said she had been fully tested before we got back together, and had tested regularly while working. I said it wasn't cheating since we weren't together at the time, so there isn't anything to forgive. I tried to console her, but she kept on crying uncontrollably. I asked if there was anything else she wanted to tell me, and she cried some more, and eventually said yes. She had also done adult videos. I was like, what? And she told me her agency had referred her to some adult videos company in Florida, and they flew her down there for a week. She did 4 scenes and flew back home. She had only done it this one time, she said. She kept crying, and I was completely shell-shocked at this point, but I tried my best to calm her down and said it is okay. I still love her and so on. Eventually she stopped crying and we went to sleep without another word. Well, I didn't sleep much. We didn't talk about it the next day, and the next day after that. She asked me if I was okay and if I wanted to talk, but I said no, I don't really feel like talking about it. She asked me again if I still loved her, and I said I did, and I do. I can't picture my life without her, but I am having a very hard time with this, to be honest. It's been more than a week, and I can't stop thinking about it. I feel like I don't know her at all. I keep thinking about those 4 scenes and that they're probably still out there for anyone to see. I keep thinking about her going to hotels and meeting random guys. I want to know more, but I don't think I can handle knowing more, but I can't get it out of my head. It's all I think about. We haven't had sex since this conversation. I want to move on. I want to get past this, but how? She didn't cheat on me, but it almost feels like she did. I can't help it. What can I do? Anyone else experience something like this? How did you deal with it? Too long didn't read. My wife of 5 years told me she had worked as an escort while going to college. She's also done some adult videos. I can't get past it. Edit. Thank you all for your thoughts. I really appreciate most of the comments. I need a break from this right now. It's just too much. And I am at work actually. It kinda seems like she waited till a point when you were so in love with her that you wouldn't care anymore. If she thought you wouldn't care, she would have been upfront about it. However, that's not the thing that bothers me. The thing that bothers me is that she didn't tell you until she had to because she slipped up. This situation begs 2 questions. Would she have ever told you? What else could she be possibly hiding? I hope you make the right decision for you, but you should take your blinders off for a second and look at this from the perspective of a different man. This ain't it, Chief. Don't force yourself to make a decision right now. Don't set a quick timetable for you to get over it. Don't tell yourself you have to feel a certain way. Don't tell yourself that you have to get past it. Give yourself more time to process this. A week would not be near enough time for me. Thank you. I definitely don't want to do anything rash. I want to continue our marriage with all my heart, so I will give it all the time in the world, but I am just afraid I won't be able to get over it ever. Second story. Terrified that my 25 female husband 28 male has been having sex with me while I am asleep. Now I am pregnant. Our full. For some context, I have a serious medical condition that requires some pretty heavy medication. It does a lot of things, including destroy my sex drive, and knock me out for long periods of time. My husband and I were married before I was diagnosed, and he supported me through diagnosis and treatment. He's a wonderful man. We used to have a very active sex life, and it has been a considerable strain on our marriage that I never feel in the mood. I feel like a terrible wife in this regard, and I miss being able to do what we both enjoy. To be clear, when I take my medication, I am dead to the world. You could blast a fire alarm next to me, and I wouldn't wake up. You could pick me up and toss me around, and I might not wake up. Lately I've felt worse than normal. Really sick, dizzy, uncomfortable act. I went to my doctor, scared I might be sick with COVID, and it turns out I am pregnant. 5 weeks, but I haven't had sex with my husband in at least 2 months, maybe more. I did not cheat on him. I was not assaulted by anyone, anywhere, that I know of. This was not immaculate conception. I told my husband and he was surprised. It's probably 1,000,001 chance I got pregnant, due to the medication I am on, and my condition. He was shocked, then excited, and I was just so relieved he didn't accuse me of cheating that I didn't stop to consider why he didn't. It's been a few days. I've been thinking about when I first started taking my medication. It was hard for him to adjust to me not wanting to have sex. And he used to joke that I could just lay there and watch TV while we do it. Or, and here's what makes me scared. He used to joke that he could just have sex with me while I am sleeping. And that way I don't have to deal with it. And he can be satisfied. He's mentioned this a couple of times, but always lets it drop when I am not okay with it. I've started thinking about all the times I woke up in the morning and had uncomfortable pelvic pressure that usually only comes from me after I have sex. My husband likes to be rough and I don't really mind. We were always pretty wild in bed or adventurous. Or bruises I've had that I can't explain. I confronted my husband about this, about me being scared he did this to me, and at the least why he wasn't surprised the dates don't match up. He was angry I would accuse him of something so horrible, and insists that I am just misremembering the last time we had sex. The medication does play with my memory sometimes, but I remember the last time we had sex. I remember every time we have sex now because I don't enjoy it. I don't want to panic. I don't want to talk myself into being convinced he's been having sex with me while I am asleep. And I don't want to talk myself out of this possibility just to protect our marriage, but I am terrified. This is the only possibility I can come up with. And if it's true, I don't know what to do. I've been heartbroken for a while over the idea that I wouldn't be able to have kids. Now I am going to have a baby and I am so happy. But what if this baby happened because of what my husband did? Too long didn't read. I think my husband has been having sex with me while I am asleep because of my low sex drive. And now we have a miracle baby that may be a byproduct of it. Edit. I just want to say the response to this has been insane. Thank you so much to everyone. I am really lost and I don't know what to think or do. I am going to take some time to think about this, get additional information and resources depending on however this is going to go, and figure it out. Just to be clear, however, because there are too many responses to answer directly. No. I have never given permission for my husband to have sex with me while I am sleeping. Yes, I have asked him if I have ever instigated something while asleep, sleepwalked, sleep spoke, or did anything in my sleep related to sex. And he answered no, we have never had sex outside of a time when I was fully cognizant and aware of what's happening. And yes, I am keeping the baby regardless of what happened. If people are interested, I'll post an update when there is something to write. Again, thank you. Thank you for all the support and opinions. They all matter. Third story. Ex-boyfriend won't stop telling every guy I cheated even though it was 10 years ago. When I was 19, I had an unexpected pregnancy. My ex didn't want to keep the baby. But I did and we stayed together anyway. She was born with a birth defect and died at 2 days old, because I knew my ex never wanted her. I definitely blamed him, which was wrong. I was upset he didn't care like I did. I ended up cheating with a guy at a support group whose young child also died. I take full responsibility. We broke up, and I took a big break from relationships and pursued personal therapy. My ex is married now, yet every relationship I've been in since 3, including my fiancé, he's messaged the guy warning him that I am a cheater, and the second time even messaged the guy's parents. Both the relationships ended shortly after, and now he's contacted my fiancé, who I actually told ahead of time and understands. I found out the reason why he's been able to find out about all my relationships is because he follows a ton of my family members on Facebook. I don't have it. Do I tell everyone to block him? I tried to talk to him about it and he says if I don't tell them I am lying by omission. But it was 10 years ago. He says that it says something about my character that can't be fixed with time. I went to therapy. It was horrible. Horrible circumstances, and I honestly don't think I am a bad person. I don't know if it would be wrong to take this to his wife. I am afraid he's going to tell my fiance's parents or my future kids. I just want him to stop. What would you do? Edit speaking with his wife now. She's very concerned about his behavior and is actually a very kind woman. Edit I was asked to put this into the post. I was 19 at the time. My ex was 30. And we're 29 and 40 now. Edit he and his wife got into a big fight. She's creeped out by the obsession and worried he hasn't gotten over me. The age gap at the time bothered her especially because there's an age gap between the two of them and she thought he was making an exception for her. He sent my boyfriend a very ominous "you will regret this" message and we're thinking of involving the police. Fourth story. My cheating soon-to-be ex-husband plays the victim and blames me for his current situation. It's been almost 9 months since I've discovered my soon-to-be ex-husband affair. He left me and our daughter 2 weeks post-discovery. He went on vacation with the owl after our daughter's 6th birthday and when he got home, moved to his new studio apartment at the city. I was a mess in the beginning. I couldn't eat or sleep. I cried all day and every day. My daughter found out about the affair because he exposed it. She also cried almost every night and would ask why daddy keeps choosing Yao instead of her when she is his kid. More time has passed and we are doing a lot better now. My daughter and I are in therapy, but it's still a work in progress. I filed for divorce in May with a signed legal separation agreement. Since then, I've worked on myself. I cleaned up my house, got rid of a lot of his stuff and still in process, redecorated and completed a lot of fixes both interior and exterior of my home. He is not in the title of this house, so it is completely mine now. It looks different and it feels like my space. My daughter started to go to in-person school and made new friends. I also kept her busy with family so she is reassured that she is loved despite her dad leaving. I tell every day that I love her and I will never leave her. My soon-to-be ex-husband has seen the changes in my home and has made comments like, "You are really trying to forget me." He was surprised when I served him papers. He said, "I didn't think we'd get divorced." It was like, "Really? You cheat? Leave us for Ao and didn't think anything would happen." Recently, he said to me that I kicked him out when he was the one who left to be alone. I went to his apartment to drop stuff off and the Ao was there. So much for being alone. Anyway, he said that it is my fault that his life is the way it is. He is having trouble financially now. I know he is stressed about that, but this isn't my problem. He made his choices and I even gave him ideas on ways he can help himself. You see, when he was home, I took care of everything. We both have good incomes combined, but I made more and always cut stuff out for me so we can make ends meet. He kept spending whatever he wanted and I would pay off his credit card every month, usually worth 3.54k. I know this was my fault and I spoiled him, but his current financial situation is not my problem. Then he says something contradictory like he thought leaving would make him happier. But he is miserable and the grass isn't greener. He sure loves to play pity party and I am sick of it. When I asked him to just be present for our child and step up, it's like pulling teeth. I ask him questions that require his response as a parent and he ignores them. It's always usually dealing with schedules for visitation and decisions on our daughter's activities or doctor visits. He doesn't give me any feedback when it is required, and when I ask again, he cusses at me. He just doesn't want to take any responsibility. It has gotten to the point where he threatens violence to my family now. It's just ridiculous and he probably gets a power trip for choosing only to respond to what he wants. I encourage my daughter to spend time with her dad because I think it's important she has a relationship with him. Now, I am doubting this. I even went as far as allowing him to enter my home so they can spend time together in her playroom. I bend and try to accommodate so our child can be with her dad. But enough is enough. His behavior is getting worse and I need to put up more boundaries. He clearly doesn't respect me. He doesn't even acknowledge my presence when he enters my home. He doesn't say a word or even look at me because he doesn't know how to be an adult. He only talks to me via text. The other day, he flipped out when I said my brother is coming to my house on Saturday, which happens to be his visitation day. My brother is coming to help me with yard work. My soon-to-be ex-husband response was to cuss at me and say he would punch my brother out if he tries to get in between his visit. I told him that my brother won't, so go out to eat with our daughter instead. He has options. You see, he is jealous of my brother because my daughter spent time with him and her cousins where they did family activities together. My daughter loved it so much that she tells everyone how great uncle and auntie is. Not only does he think I brainwash our daughter, he thinks my family does too. So now comes the pity party where he says to the world he has no family. He doesn't even think about his own child, and it was him that casted everyone out, including his parents and our friends. He says that he doesn't have anyone. But the cognitive dissonance is so strong. The inability to take responsibility is ludicrous. I am backing away and putting up more walls around me because he is just being disrespectful and hostile. Enough is enough. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.